went to the Pro Bowl as a special teams player. He's back deep now as the ball is hit downfield by Cole Ford, and here comes the super fast Bates, a former Olympic bronze medal winner. Up the middle, he breaks it across the 30, and Bates is all the way out to the 39-yard line. With a good alignment of blockers opening the way, returns at 38 yards. And big Kerry Collins at 6'5", 240 pounds comes out to quarterback the Panthers. There's his offensive line. David Garrido at right tackle is an emerging star out of Southern California. Tim Biakabatuka, former #1 pick out of Michigan, had his first 100-yard rushing game a week ago. And he's starting to come on. They have a lot of speed at the wide receiver position. On first down, they go to the run. And the carry by Biakabatuka is out to the 47-yard line, a gain of almost 8 yards on the play. James Trapp, the strong safety, made the stop. We look now at the front four of the Raiders. Darrell Russell, the #2 pick in the entire draft out of Southern California. Russell, Maryland's a former #1 overall. A linebacking core, Fredrickson, Beekert, and Morton. A lot of experience in McDaniel and Lewis. Between them, they played 25 years in the NFL. On second down, the handoff goes, and Biakabatuka is cut down right at the 45-yard line. It's Chester McLaughlin shed the block, made the hit. So that'll bring up third down and about 4 now for Carolina on this opening drive. Tim Biakabatuka out of the University of Michigan had some great games for the Wolverines. In one game against Ohio State, he rushed for 313 yards. Now Anthony Johnson comes in for him. He is the short yardage runner, a better receiver out of the backfield. He might be throwing on third down and 4. Collins with a short drop, fires it out, gets his man. It's a first down as Rakim Ismail, who's been playing much improved football, catches his 17th pass of the season, the former Raider. He's ahead for a first down.
They like to bring Anthony Johnson in, the running back, on third down situations. He's a good blocker plus a good receiver. They hit Ismail here. Ismail is their third receiver. On third and long, they bring him in as the third receiver. They hit him here or there for a critical first down on this opening drive.
Joe Bugle. Sense the pressure. Joe's feeling all the tight losses. Then that scoring shootout, a loss last week at Seattle. Here is a play fake. Collins lofts it. He's got a man, and the Raiders almost pick it off. Terrific defense by the veteran cornerback Terry McDaniel, as the 10-year veteran almost had the ball in his possession.
The Raiders like to play man-to-man. They'll play man-to-man coverage 75% of the time, especially on first and second down. And right here, they're trying to man up number 43, Scott Green, on McDaniel, and McDaniel does a good job of covering him and knocks the ball down.
You feel, Jim, that this Raider defense is very predictable.
Well, they play, like I said earlier, they play man-to-man 75% of the time, and you can read, a lot of times you can read how they line up before the snap as to what coverage they're going to be in. Not necessarily the exact coverage, but whether they're going to be in man-to-man or zone. And this really helps a quarterback. If he knows ahead of time, are they going to be in zone, are they going to be in man, it makes his reads a lot easier.
Here's a guy that started his coaching career under you.
Yes, Dom Capers. In fact, Dom Capers and I go way back to the University of Washington. I was the defensive coordinator there in 1975, and he was a grad assistant for him. Right then, you knew that he was going to be a very successful coach and was potentially a head coach material.
Panthers, as you see, a very effective team converting third downs. This is a long one, though. They need 10. Markers are down as the throw is a little bit too much for the receiver to get to. The very fast Mark Carrier coming over the middle, number 83. Had a step on the receiver, but the ball was too far for him to get to.
Offside, defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Darrell Russell is the defensive left end, number 96. And he's going to jump a little bit too early. You know, early in the game, defensive linemen are a little bit too eager to get off on the snap and get upfield and rush the passer. And a lot of times, as a quarterback, if you give him a hard count or a long count, you're going to get him to jump off sides. That might have happened on that play.
So instead of missing a pass on 3rd and 10, they get third down over. Now it's 3rd down and 5 for Carolina. This is the opening drive of the game. Collins, big at 6'5". Triggers the ball. He gets Ismail, and he dives ahead for another first down reception.
One of Joe Bugle's biggest concerns when we talked to him yesterday was the third down offense by the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are ranked high in the league on third down conversions, and Joe Bugle was concerned about that. The guy they hit there, Rakib Ismail, has really been coming on the last couple of weeks. In training camp, they felt like he was one of their most productive players. He was injured early, but he's healthy now and playing well.
Yes, he is. He was the runner-up in the Heisman Trophy battling after his junior year at Notre Dame. Now he's running shorter parallels and catching the ball better as the handoff goes straight ahead. Not a whole lot going on for the rookie Fred Lane, a player that they're very high on in the Carolina organization. Free agent from where else but Lane College.
This is a guy they really like. You talk to the coaches, both the defensive coaches who have to look at him every day in practice when he's running for the scout team, and the offensive coaches, and they like this guy. They've liked him right from the start of training camp. He came in as an undrafted free agent, has been very impressive throughout the season so far. They want to get him more playing time, and you can see he's in early now.
On second and long, Ray Caruth, the fastest Carolina player, comes in motion. Collins takes a look at him, sidearms the ball, and the Raiders slap it back. It looked like Russell Maryland might have got a piece of it.
Well, it's important that the Raiders put some heat on Collins, and this time Russell Maryland, number 67, he's getting good pressure upfield. It's a little play action pass by Collins, but Russell gets good push upfield. He's right in Collins' face, gets his hand up, and knocks the ball down.
Talking about the speed, Tom Flores, now a Raider broadcaster on the radio side, saying that he has never seen speed in football like the wide receiver speed in the AFC West. Now, this Carolina team has got some flyers too. Caruth was the fastest player in the last draft out of Colorado. He was the #1 pick of the Panthers, and he's wide to the near side. Here's a throw over the middle, and Wesley Walls, the big tight end, who might have the best hands of any tight end in the league. He doesn't drop him, and he gets a 13-yard gain and a first down for the Panthers.
Well, this is another conversion on third down. Number 53, Rob Fredrickson, blitzes from the right side of the screen. Somebody's got to cover Wesley Walls man for man when that guy's blitzing. That time he was wide open.
So the Panthers, after the opening kickoff was run back 38 yards by Michael Bates, now methodically moving the ball down the field and starting to challenge for the first points of the game. Collins swings it out. Out of the backfield is the rookie Fred Lane, and he's cut down and knocked out of bounds at about the 16-yard line. The middle linebacker Greg Biekert came over and took a shot and got him.
When you play a lot of man-for-man coverage on pass defense like the Raiders do, one of the things you try to do as an offensive team is get a running back manned up on a linebacker. That time they had Fred Lane manned up on number 54, Greg Biekert, and picked up a pretty good gain there. They're gonna work on those linebackers.
You see the red zone offense. They've been very effective now, the Carolina Panthers, as they have it down to the 15-yard line. At the beginning of the season, they had trouble in the red zone. Now they're heading down and into the end zone with the rookie Fred Lane as he takes it 15 yards for the first touchdown of the game. His second NFL touchdown. Here it is, Jim Mora.
Yeah, they feel like Fred Lane is a real good power runner, an inside runner. For a smaller back, he's very strong, and that way he hits it right up inside, breaks a couple tackles, and gets into the end zone. As you mentioned, Don, the Carolina Panthers, the last few games have been doing a real good job in their red zone offense, getting into the end zone from inside the 20.
Now Casey, who led the NFL in scoring last season, place kicker John Casey drives the extra point through. So the Carolina Panthers out of the gate look impressive. Down the field they go, and they take a 7-0 lead. Don CRIQUI with Jim Mora back at Charlotte, North Carolina, where the Carolina Panthers just rhythmically took the ball down the field, mixing the run and the pass. And finally, number 32, the rookie Fred Lane, is in the end zone with his second NFL touchdown, and the Raiders find themselves down 7-0, ready to get the ball for the first time. Casey's kickoff carries to the near side. They kick away from Desmond Howard as the ball is taken back now by Tim Hall, and he is across the 15-yard line. And the Raiders will start out inside their 20-yard line. First possession of the day.
Defense like the Oakland Raiders have early throughout this season, the worst thing that can happen to you is to have come out on the opening drive and have the other team march right down the field for a touchdown. Here's the touchdown play, and Fred Lane cuts it back. The guy that's got to make the play is number 54, Greg Beekert. He's got to stay behind the ball. What he did there was he overran the football, overran the ball carrier. Lane cut it back for the touchdown.
And it's 7-0 Panthers. Here's the throw up the middle by Jeff George, and it's broken up. As Tim Brown was coming off the flank. They might be throwing even more to Tim Brown today than usual. The guy who is already the AFC's leading receiver. There's the offensive line that blocks for George. Wisniewski, a 4-time Pro Bowl player at left guard. In the backfield, Napoleon Kaufman averaging 5.7 yards every time he runs with the ball. He has been terrific. James Jett, the other wide receiver, across from Brown, has scored 8 touchdowns this year. The handoff, and here's a penalty marker as the Raiders go to the run, and Hoffman is knocked down at about the 20-yard line on a 2nd and 10, a gain of 2. Chad Cota, one of the safeties, came up to make the tackle. Signal is against the Oakland Raiders, so they'll be set back. So not a good development for this high-scoring offense. Jim coming out and misfiring. As we look now at the front 3 of the Carolina Panthers, all veterans. Les Miller is the best pass rusher.
Holding off.
Holding calls on Wisniewski as we look at Michael Barrow, a standout player with the Oilers in recent years, coming in as a free agent. Eric Davis, a tremendous cornerback. He's been a Pro Bowl player. He is the key to their secondary, which is the best aspect of the Carolina defense. On 2nd and 18, Jeff George has time. Now he's running out of it. Takes a look. And George slides to a halt at the 12-yard line. So that brings up 3rd and very long yardage, 3rd and about 16. As linebacker Andre Royal, a free agent out of Alabama, number 58, ran him down.
You know, one of the things that the Raiders have done very poorly so far this season is convert 3rd downs. They're second to last in the National Football League converting 3rd downs at about 1/4 of the time. And one of the things they've been working on this week is getting into 3rd and shorter situations so it's easy to convert. On this opening drive, they got 3rd and about 18. This is a tough situation.
Very tough. Deep in their own end with 3rd and 17. Jeff George takes a look. Here comes the rush again. He must run out of the pocket. Looks downfield. Fires the ball deep down to Jett. And it's tipped away by Tyrone Poole. A tremendous defensive play. Almost a miraculous throw by Jeff George as Jett had a step on the receiver and the ball looked, Jim, like it was right there.
Yeah, it was a pretty good throw, but the Panthers had great coverage. You know, it's what's interesting to me. The Panthers are known as a blitz team. They're the kings of the zone blitz of the National Football League. They love to bring people after the quarterback. Those last 2 plays, they played a 4-man rush, a strict, simple zone defense, and shut down the Raider offense.
And here is Leo Araguz ready to punt. Averaging almost 45 yards a punt. Hits the ball downfield. A high punt. Well drilled. Tyrone Poole will run it back. From his 33, right up the middle of the field. There is a penalty marker down. As he is out to the 50-yard line, but we could have a blocking foul on Carolina. A 57-yard punt and an 18-yard return, and now they discuss it. The referee, Gary Lane. And Howard Slavin, the side judge, is telling them what he saw. Clock stop with 7 minutes and 51 seconds to play in the first quarter. The Panthers in the lead 7-0 on their home field, where they were unbeaten last year.
Unbeaten last year, but only 1-3 this year.
Yeah, they lost their first 3 home games this year. On the kicking team, personal foul. Joe Bugle wasn't looking for that.
Not a good start by the Raiders. The defense goes in on the first series. Carolina marches right down the field.
While the kick was in the air, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 88 on the kicking team. That penalty's declined. First down.
Orlando Truitt was unsportsmanlike. So the Panthers will start at the 50. Ball for a second time. They scored on their opening drive. The Panthers fast finishers, Jim.
Oh, yeah, and Coach Capers has put a tremendous emphasis on what they do the second half of this season. They've been very good the last 2 years. If they win today, they can be 5-4, same as they were last year when they won 8 straight and won the division championship.
Now let's check out the Jets and the Patriots as we go to Greg Gumbel in New York. Greg?
All right, Don, at the Meadowlands, a lot of folks wondering if Neil O'Donnell should continue as a starting quarterback for the Jets. Neil puts in a vote for himself with a 13-yard touchdown pass to Fred Baxter. Baltimore has replied with a field goal still in the first quarter. The Jets with a 7-3 lead on the Ravens, Don.
Thank you, Greg. Ravens coming off one of their best wins in a long time, beating the Skins on Washington's home field. But the Jets started the day tied for first in the AFC East. Here is Collins throwing against Anthony Johnson, working his way on a 2nd and 11, and good defense by the Raiders as Russell Maryland is able to sort through all the blockers and make the knockdown for very little gain. So Collins now finds himself with a long yardage play. Anthony Johnson was a tremendous story for the Carolina Panthers last year, the former captain at Notre Dame, a free agent acquisition. Yakabatuka went down with the knee injury, and Johnson responded with an 1,100-yard rushing season. He really carried this team's running game. Now he's getting less carries, but still the consummate team player. Wherever he can help is where he wants to be, as Collins drops on 3rd down and almost 10. Throws to Walls, the tight end. Sets himself to take the hits, and he's knocked down at the 45-yard line. Cornerback Terry McDaniel was the first guy to get him.
One of the keys for the Raiders today is get a good pass rush on Collins. You know, they have not been a team that has done a good job rushing the passer. Last week against Seattle, Warren Moon had a tremendous day, dropped back to throw a lot of times. They never got a sack, not one sack against Moon. It's important that they put some heat on Collins. They wanted to do this. This was a point of emphasis for him in today's game plan, defensive game plan.
Desmond Howard back now, still waiting to break the long punt return as a Raider. Ken Walter hits the ball downfield, end over end. He's been very good placing the ball inside the 20. Here comes Desmond Howard, waiting for a big punt return. Well, there it is, as Howard is all the way out across the 45-yard line and out close to the 47. So Desmond Howard gives the Raiders good field position. Life blimp. The dog on the dirigible. There he is. Snoopy high over Charlotte, North Carolina, as the Raiders now will go to the run, and Napoleon Kaufman with that cutback move is able to get ahead for about 3 yards. Andre Royal, a free agent linebacker, making a good move to knock it down. This guy is liable to detonate for the distance any play.
Yeah, the interesting thing, the Raiders are a big play team. They got big play players in Kaufman and Brown and Jet and people like that. Kaufman's had a tremendous season so far with big plays. You can see all the long runs he's had. The longest run that the Panthers has had, one guy 26 yards last week when Biakapachuka ran it against Atlanta.
Desmond Howard's 31-yard punt return set up the field position for the Raiders. Here's Jeff George looking, and he has the ball slapped back at him. As we look at the ticker, Minnesota jumping out to a 10-0 lead on the Patriots. Patriots losers of 3 of their last 4 in a tailspin. Buffalo, a leader over the Dolphins, is reported by Greg Gumbel. The Jets up on Baltimore 7-3. Washington, Bears had a good moment, or a few of them, on Monday night at Miami, beating the Dolphins, but they seem to be back to their old ways. Tampa Bay up on the winless Colts. Here in Charlotte, it's 7-0. Panthers with the lead, Raiders with the ball, 3rd down, and they need a long 6, almost 7. George stands in, good protection, swings it out, gets Napoleon Kaufman, and well-positioned defense stops Napoleon Kaufman as the free agents, the rookie safety Mike Minter came up on the play.
Well, the Raiders have been suffering all year in converting 3rd downs, and here they put themselves in a tough situation. They have 3rd and long. You don't want to do that. You want to get into situations on 3rd down where it's less than 5 yards. You have a better chance to convert. Their problem, they've been in 3rd and long too often. 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. Tough to convert in that situation.
Minter's a player they really like, a pick out of the University of Nebraska, working into the starting lineup as a first-year player. Here's a fair catch signaled for and made by Tyrone Poole. And the Panthers will go on offense for the 3rd time. They'll start at the 25-yard line.
Coaching career, and they love him up there. They think he's a messiah in Seattle. The players think he's great. The coaches think he's great. He's had a tremendous season.
The handoff as they go to the power run. Straight ahead, Fred Lane working hard. We were told, Jim, that he was going to get more carries today. The rookie free agent Fred Lane. They really like him, though, don't they?
He's been so impressive, right? As I said earlier, right from the very first day of training camp. And you usually don't expect an undrafted rookie to come in and be impressive, but ever so often something like this happens. He gets looked over in the draft and he comes in, and they think he's going to be a heck of a player. They like him a lot.
He scored the game's first touchdown, Fred Lane. On second down, a swing pass out of the backfield. It's Fred Lane again, and he is ahead on a 2nd down and 7 play. Very close to the 35-yard line, where he's taken down by outside linebacker Mike Morton.
As I said earlier, they like him. He's not a big back, but he's very strong and very, very powerful. Collins will hit him out here in the flat. Albert Lewis will come up number 29. He breaks that tackle, and when Morton 50 hits him, he knocks Morton back and gets the first down. Well, it's almost the first down. It's 3rd and about a half a yard right now.
Joe Pendry making the offensive play call, some high above for Carolina. End off on short yardage, 3rd and a yard. They had to get the ball to the 35-yard line, did the Panthers. They went to their 3rd-year fullback from Michigan State, Scott Green. Yesterday at a game here, Jim, and Scott Green scored his first NFL touchdown when they beat the Steelers. After the game, Steve Berline said, you can't stop Scott Green. You can only hope to hold him down.
Joe Pendry, the offensive coordinator, told me that Scott Green was a running back at Michigan State, not a fullback. They've made him a fullback, and they're teaching him how to block. Joe Pendry, the offensive coordinator there on the screen, says he likes athletic fullbacks. Give me an athlete, I'll teach him to block. That's what they're doing with Green.
Green's in a position to block now. Now he's swinging out of the backfield, and Collins throws the ball away. Good coverage by the Raiders. Raider defense has not been giving up the deep open man this game.
No, they've been playing pretty conservatively, mixing some zone coverages in there. And you know, the Carolina offense is not a big play offense. There's Fred Whittingham, the defensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders. We saw him in the hotel yesterday, and he wasn't in a real good mood. I think, you know, with the 30th ranked defense in the league, he has a lot of pressure on him and probably not feeling too good.
That can change your attitude. Fred Whittingham, a former NFL linebacker with the Eagles and the Saints. I think he's also with the Rams for a while. 2nd down and 10. Collins against the blitz. He eludes it, throws and gets Wesley Walls, the tight end. And he's down to the 44-yard line, a gain of 21 yards on the play. Collins did a brilliant job eluding the rush. It was a blitzer in his face. And then Walls was even better, catching it in traffic and getting ahead for the big game.
When you blitz like that, number 54 is coming. Number 50, the linebacker, is coming on the quarterback. A 2-linebacker blitz. What happens there is you single up and man up a linebacker on the tight end. Number 53, Rob Fredrickson, was covering Wesley Walls right there. Wesley got a step on him, and Collins hit him.
And a terrific combination of looks on the replay as we see the Panthers hit a 21-yard gainer and advance just inside the 45 of the Raiders. Here's Ray Caruth, the fastest Carolina Panther. But speed gets him nowhere here, but into a lot of trouble as Greg Beaker is able to come in and make the stop for a very short gain of maybe a yard.
Well, the Panthers, as I started to say, they are not a big play team. They're a team that works down the field a little bit at a time. They have to play very efficient. They're going to mix things up like there. They ran in a reverse on 1st down. They'll mix up the run and the pass, but they have to be efficient. They're not going to hit the big play like the Raiders do. They got to work down the field. No penalties, no mental errors, no turnovers. That's how they score touchdowns and work down the field.
Now they did it the first time when they had that rhythmic drive down the field to score the first points of the game. Here is a throw to Scott Green, the fullback, right in the middle of the field. He just goes crashing through the Oakland Raider defense for a 20-yard gain. So Carolina really going to their whole playbook, and everything seems to be working.
Well, the Raiders are last in the league in pass defense, and that time they lined up Scott Green split out. He wasn't lined up in the backfield like he normally is, and the Raiders did not account for him on defense, and he was wide open.
So Scott Green with his 20th reception of the season, good for a first down inside the Raider 20. It's 7-0 Carolina in the first quarter. Handoff, and Fred Lane breaks it. He's going in again. Might be the run of the year. He was absolutely jolted back with a hit. Looked like he was stopped. Instead, he breaks it for 18 yards and his second touchdown of the day.
You know, I don't think if Bianca Patuca hadn't gotten hurt that Fred Lane would have been the game as early as he was today, but he's come in, he's got his opportunity, and he's certainly making the most of it. What a great run that time by Lane. He is stopped at the line of scrimmage. He is literally stopped, but he busts through, breaks tackles, and he makes a heck of a run to get into the end zone.
He just took a hit and then broke open the Raider defense for an 18-yard touchdown run. The left-footed place kicker, John Casey, delivers his second extra point of the day. And it's a 14-0 Carolina lead.
This is not a play that ought to score. The Raiders are in good shape. What they've got to do is make tackles.
Man.
Beekert, number 54, misses a tackle. Morton, number 50, misses a tackle. That's bad defense and good running on the part of Fred Lane. But the Raiders have got to make this. They've got to stop this guy right here. There's no excuse for this. Look at, there's a shot right there, missed tackle. Another shot, missed tackle.
And then the terrific balance by Fred Lane. Morton had a shot at him. Beekert did.
Eric Turner had a shot at him, the safety.
Looked like Fred Lane just wanted it more. And there's
he's excited. Look at that. I haven't seen that one before.
Kind of like the flipper.
I've seen some reactions in the end zone, but that's the first time I've seen that.
Well, he's going to have to get some new ones because he's going to go through all he's got. He's already scored 2 touchdowns.
Pretty good start. Undrafted rookie from Lane College. He's fired up now, isn't he?
I asked Bill Polian, who runs the Panther organization, how they came up with Lane. He says just good scouting. But you wonder how a guy from the day he came to camp was impressive, wasn't drafted at all.
It happens all the time, Don. It's just amazing. All the money that teams spend on their scouting, all the scouts that they have, they cover all the colleges, they get all this information. They have the national scouting system, they have the combine, and guys like Fred Lane pop up every year.
Now look at Terrell Davis, the best runner in the league this year at Denver. He was a 6th-round draft choice. Tim Hall takes it about 5 yards deep. And it will come out to the 20. First down and 10 for the Raiders, who are in trouble after a quarter of play, trailing 14-0. The terrific stories in pro football, and Jim Mora, you're a very big part of it. You brought him into pro football.
Well, I had Sam for 12 years, 3 years in the USFL and 9 years with the Saints. He's in his 12th year in the National Football League. 5 Pro Bowls. When he came into the USFL, we signed him in the back of a van, gave him a $250 signing bonus, 2-year contract for $20,000 and $22,000.
You think he's the best you've had, isn't he?
He's the best football player I've ever coached. I've been coaching for 37 years. He's a coach's dream.
How's that for a recommendation? Here's a throw to Tim Brown, beautifully threaded in by Jeff George just before he took a hard hit. And the gain is upfield for 16 yards and a Raider first down.
Well, the Panthers are a good pass rush team. I haven't seen them do much zone blitzing yet today. That was just a 4-man rush, but they're getting there with the 4-man rush. They don't need to zone blitz at this point.
Tim Brown, he said, come to me with the ball. Joe Bugles said, we're good listeners as coaches. When your great players tell you what is going to work, you got to listen to them, and Brown wants to get the ball more today. Here now is the handoff as Kaufman runs, and he's thrown back. Kaufman very strong and super fast, but he's not big at 185 pounds, and Sam Mills got the full force shot on him.
Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, felt like the guy they had to stop was Napoleon Kaufman. They said he's the guy that they were most worried about. They got a lot of big play players on that Raider offense, but Kaufman was the guy. The main reason, not only because he's so good, but because the thing that the Panthers have had the most trouble with this year is stopping the run. They need to stop Kaufman. They put a lot of emphasis on him this week.
Let's see what the Raiders do now on 2nd down and 9. It is back to Kaufman on a sweep, and Kaufman, with a little bit of a gap, is able to rocket across the 40 for a 7-yard gain. Now let's go back to New York to Greg for an update on the Vikings and the Patriots.
Don, slippery football at the Metrodome. Brad Johnson casts off to Chris Carter, who makes the grab, loses the football, and count the number of shots anyone has picking it up before Robert Green of the Vikings falls on it at the 1. It set up Mo Williams' 1-yard touchdown run. It's now the second quarter. The Vikings with a 10-point lead on New England, Don.
Thanks, Greg. As we come back now to Charlotte, North Carolina. Raiders down 14-0 early in the second quarter. Jeff George makes the throw and a connection to his tight end, Ricky Dudley. And Dudley, who's averaging over 18 yards a catch, gets almost 20 on that reception. As Tyrone Poole finally hauled him down. This guy's turning into an all-pro receiver.
Ricky Dudley. And the Panthers were in a zone blitz that time, and Sam Mills, number 51, was dropping off in coverage. He had good coverage. He just missed the tackle. Dudley's a big, good-looking athlete. Sam's got to make the play, got to make the tackle.
That was Dudley's 25th catch of the season. Coda's shaken up. Back in Charlotte, Chad Cota, one of the most popular Panthers, a 7th-round draft choice out of Oregon, who made some big plays last year and is a starter this year, shaken up, but apparently Chad's okay. Right now the Raiders offense looks to be better as they start to move down 14-0. Pitch back. Hoffman, look at him cut back. On a 1st and 10 carry, he takes it ahead for a gain of about almost 8 yards.
When we signed Sam Mills in the USFL, he had already been cut by the Cleveland Browns and a team up in Canada. And at the time we signed him, he was teaching in Montclair in a junior high school. He was teaching shop and photography. And now he's completing his 12th year in the National Football League. Pretty good story.
After helping you and the Philadelphia team win 2 USFL championships, I asked Sam yesterday, what's the key to his success? He said it's got to be preparation. When you're 5'9" and undersized, you've got to be more ready than the other guys, and you got to prepare all year long. And off season is just as important as in season.
Don, I've never been around a football player. I mentioned that Sam's the best football player that I've ever coached. I've never been around a football player in my 37-year career who worked as hard as Sam. And he said it was consistent preparation. The first year that he prepared in the off season, he worked just as hard the last year that he prepared in the off season. Every year he motivates himself, tremendous self-motivation to get himself ready to play, works hard in practice every day, studies the game film, studies the scouting report. He's a real positive example.
And another thing is he's very smart. You never fool him. He's never out of position. He absolutely grades out unbelievable. He just doesn't make mistakes.
He's the smartest football player I've ever been around. A lot of it is the fact that he prepares so well. He comes into a game and he knows that game plan. He knows that scouting report as well as anybody, and he's ready to play. That's what he means by preparation. A lot of it is mental preparation, not just the physical preparation. When I said earlier that he's a coach's dream, that's what you look for in a player. You want a guy that's got the ability and prepares and works and leader and the whole thing.
4th down now for the Raiders.
Got to go for it here. It's 4th and short. They've got good field position here. Down by 2 touchdowns. They got to go for it. They got to make a statement offensively.
Why don't people go for it more on 4th down, Jim?
Well, it depends upon the situation. Now, if they were on their own 20-yard line here, they probably wouldn't go for it. They'd punt. But now then, they're in kind of a tough situation, kind of a in-between zone there, whether we punt, kick a field goal. This is a perfect opportunity to go for it on 4th down, 4th and a half a yard.
And down 14-0. They need a 1st down, do the Raiders. 8th play of the drive coming up. Kaufman, he didn't get there. Took it inside, tried to bounce outside. And a loss of 3 yards on the play, and who else but number 51, Sam Mills.
I keep raving about Mills, but he continues to make plays. There he is right there, right on the ball, exactly where he's supposed to be.
Play in the first half as the Raiders failed on a 4th down try, and here is the throw to Ray Caruth. As the very fast Ray Caruth works ahead for a 1st down. He got 14 yards.
On the 4th down play, when it's 4th and 1, Kaufman can't make this mistake. He's got to hit it right there for a half a yard. But what he does is he bounces it outside, gets thrown for a loss. When you're going for 4th and a half yard, you got to hit it straight up the field and get it.
So the Raiders down 14-0. Now have the Panthers on their side of the field again. Line of scrimmage, the 49-yard line. Kerry Collins, Big Penn Stater. First #1 draft choice of the Carolina franchise. At 6'5", 240 pounds. He actually would like to weigh 250. But he said, I have a coach who doesn't like 250-pound quarterbacks. It's like when Don Shula had Eric Green for a while at tight end at Miami. They asked him about having the tight end that big. He said, I like my tight ends to have a body weight that starts with a 2. At that time, Eric was over 300 pounds at tight end.
That's a little too heavy for a tight end. Anybody in a skill position, when they're in the 300-pound area, that's too much.
It's Ray Carruth, who just broke that 15-yard quick out pass play for first down. Is the
encroachment, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
They used to kid Rocket Regib Ismail that he was fast enough to play tennis by himself. And the Rocket says Ray Carruth's fast enough to play ping pong by himself. He's faster than the Rocket.
Well, yeah. There's three. Interesting point about speed. And the Raiders have always been a big team for speed, but there's some fast guys on both these teams.
This league is a speed league now. There is a try. The outside, Fred Lane, who has scored the game's 2 touchdowns today. And you never know when he's done, but it certainly isn't until he's on the ground and somebody's sitting at him. The guy has unbelievable balance. James Trapp finally stayed with him and wrestled him for no gain. Trapp, another of the great sprinters.
James Trapp, James Jett, and Michael Bates were all finalists in the Olympic trials held in New Orleans in 1992 for the 1992 Olympic team in the 100 meters. There were 8 finalists in the race. Bates, Trapp, and Jett were 3 of the 8 finalists.
And there's some other guys in both rosters that could have been there, like Kenny Shedd of the Raiders. Here's a throw, a quick out, and a good Raider rush up the middle, and Muhsin Muhammad's unable to get at the ball, thrown behind him. Coming on a second down play, so now it will be 3rd and about 5 with 9:08 to play in the first half. Kerry Collins with very good numbers today. 10 of 14 for 105 yards. It's been a tough year for Kerry. The shot he took from Romanowski in the preseason, the doctors, Kerry told us yesterday, were amazed he didn't have a serious concussion from it. His jaw was fractured more than one place. 2 plates were put in his jaw in a 4.5-hour surgery procedure. And Tom Capers, as he told you, Jim, might have brought him back a little too soon, but now he's back in winning form. Fires again, another connection. This is Carruth. Penalty marker down as Carruth is down to the 26-yard line. James Trapp finally wrestled him down, but he did it 18 yards downfield. Another first down if the play goes.
They're taking off like they're going to run a deep route, and those Raider defensive backs are bumping with them, playing bump and run, man-to-man, and then they're stopping the receivers.
Down in distance for the Raiders. They've really given up a lot of long third down plays. And Sanders of the Oilers in the opener, like Larry Brown for a 48-yard touchdown in a 3rd and 18 play. Ended up costing the game. Here is
running off with the wide receivers. They're watching the wide receivers. They're not watching the quarterback. When the quarterback starts to scramble, they can't react up to make the tackle because they're running off with the wide receivers. That's one of the problems of playing man-for-man pass defense.
And they talk, Jim, about Kerry Collins' greatest attributes are his fiery competitiveness. And he's fearless, leading with his head, even with the surgery on his jaw, and he gets the first down. Here's Lane again. Fred Lane breaks it, and a sweep to the far side. He is inside the 20-yard line. He has a gain of 14 yards and another Carolina first down.
Well, this is a heck of a play by Fred Lane. It's a little counter play. Scott Green is going to lead, makes a nice block on the linebacker, Fredrickson. That linebacker has got to keep outside contain on the running back, make the running back turn back inside. Good downfield blocking there by the wide receivers.
Muhsin Muhammad, a big wide receiver at 218 pounds, through a key block. And the Panthers drive out inside the Raider 20. Fred Lane, working hard, is down to about the 16-yard line. Tim Biakabatuka started the game. He suffered some bruised ribs earlier, and Lane has come in and scored the game's first 2 touchdowns and appears to be far from done for this day. He could be having a career day, as he is really busting the tackles, breaking for yardage, and he's got now a play set up at the 16-yard line as the Carolina Panthers challenge again.
Well, they've got a lead, a 14-point lead, and if they can get some points here, which they probably will do, they're just going to continue to give Lane the ball. He could come up with a huge day running the football.
Sidearm throw. Look at the catch by the fullback Scott Green as he's down to the 6-yard line. fullback with hands like that. That's going to waste time taking out.
A little corner route right there, but Terry McDaniel shows good discipline in his coverage. He's covered him very well.
So the Raiders stop another score if but for the moment. Carolina now spreading out the Raider defense. Flex out the tight end. 3 wide receivers are in the game. And we have a timeout with 5:57 to play in the first half.
And last in the National Football League, and they aren't going to improve much from what we've seen so far.
Carolina, the fewest rushing touchdowns this season with only 3 coming in, but already they have 3 today. 2 by the rookie Fred Lane and the last by the quarterback Kerry Collins.
Yeah, they get 3 in 8 games and 3.5.
This is the first time I've seen the Panthers live. We've seen a lot of them on tape, but I'll tell you one thing, they look every bit as good as they were last year when they went 12-4 and then beat Dallas here in the playoffs and went against the Packers in the NFC title game. Breaking it back across the 25-yard line, and that'll give the Raiders 1st and 10 at about the 26-yard line. As on NBC tonight, for 400 years they stalked mankind. NBC tonight. The Raiders forced into a pitch and catch game here, down 21-0. Jeff George stands in, pump faking, fires a sidearm ball in the direction of Tim Brown, but he is well covered. It's incomplete as Chad Cota back in the lineup. Very strong coverage again by the Panther secondary.
Yeah, there's not a great rush on George that time, but the coverage is so good by everybody with the Carolina Panthers that he has nowhere to throw. Well, look at, they've got Tim Brown bracketed there with Cota. Good coverage.
Good as it can be. This puts a lot of pressure on Jeff George, who comes in with a quarterback rating of over 102. 18 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, but now he's forced to throw. They give him time. He makes a connection. Look at Tim Brown break into open field. And on 2nd and 10, Tim Brown breaks a gain of 30 yards on the play.
What happens in this play is Tim Brown comes in motion, and he's going to run a crossing route. Number 51, Sam Mills, you'll see him right there getting his hands on Brown. Sam has got to stay inside of Brown there. He can't let Brown get inside of him. That time Brown got inside position for the completion.
We apologize for some of the technical difficulties we had. Some of our audience unable to see the Kerry Collins touchdown run, which we're going to show you again in a moment, that built the Panthers lead to 21-0. Jeff George takes a look. He screens the ball out. Napoleon Kaufman breaks it. He has a first down. As the Raiders finally get consistent big plays on offense. That was an 11-yard gainer. And here, Jim, you can tell us again about the Kerry Collins touchdown run.
This is the touchdown run by Kerry Collins. You can see that there's absolutely no defender in the middle of the field right there. And I'm sure what happened there was Kerry Collins either anticipated this, the coaches anticipated it, or when he came up to the line of scrimmage, he saw the big opening, and all he did was just decide on his own to take off and get in the end zone.
Happiness on the Carolina bench. Winners tell jokes, losers say deal. And Jeff George has got to deal it downfield now. He's getting time. He throws it all. What a beautiful throw to Tim Brown. Brown says, come to me with the ball, and that is what Jeff George is doing. A 15-yard gain.
Now the Panthers are coming with the zone blitz. You can see 51 Sam Mills coming there, number 58 Andre Royal, but the Raider offensive line is doing a good job of picking up the blitz, giving time for George and getting time for Tim Brown to get open. When you can protect and when you can block the zone blitz, you're going to find open receivers.
Joe Bugle said this is a focus week. We have to be very alert on the line of scrimmage for all these blitzers. They picked every one of them up there. Here's another blitz, and again they pick it up. Sidearm ball to Napoleon Kaufman, and with his tremendous speed, Kaufman dives down to the goal line. He goes in, and the Raiders are on the board on a 24-yard pass play. Jeff George's 19th touchdown throw of the season.
This is a big series by the Raiders, and here, right here, they throw a screen pass to Kaufman over there. The Carolina Panthers have nobody in that zone out there, so he's got free running as soon as he catches the ball. He runs by Mills, he runs by Minter, and runs over Cota to get into the end zone. Good running by Kaufman.
Very good running by Napoleon Kaufman, who scores his 8th touchdown of the year on his 19th reception. Now the extra point is hit up and good by Cole Ford, and the Raiders are finally on the board with 3:24 to play in the first half. The Panthers lead 21-7. The Raiders, with that turbocharged big play offense, finally hit a big play and a touchdown. Napoleon Kaufman, on his previous 7 touchdowns, averaging over 48 yards per touchdown. And that one covered 23 yards on the swing pass from Jeff George. Here is the kickoff by Ford, a high spinning kick. It'll carry short. It is Dwight Stone, a former Steeler, who's a very fast guy, and he breaks it across the 40 and all the way out to the 49-yard line. So Carolina special teamers do well. Raiders special teamers do not. Panthers with good field position.
This is the touchdown play to Kaufman, and he runs a screen pass out to his left. And he shows his great speed here by running by Sam Mills. Now somebody's got to be in that area right there for the Panthers. Nobody's there. He runs by Mills. Mills misjudges. He runs by Minter and then shows his power by running over Chad Cota to get in the end zone.
And to make it a 21-7 game. But the Panthers, who've been scoring regularly here in the first half with 21 points. They've only scored 21 points once this season in an entire game. Handoff. Fred Lane, who's been in the end zone twice. The rookie takes it ahead on a 1st and 10 for a gain of over 5 yards down to the 45-yard line of the Raiders.
You know, right now at this point in the ball game, we're still early, but I really believe that the pressure is on the Raider defense. The Raider defense has been terrible today up to this point, but they have got they've got to get that ball back to their offense. The only way they got a chance in this ball game for that Raider defense to suck it up and get the ball back to their offense.
We'll see if they can. There's been no turnover so far in the game as Collins steps in, makes the throw. There's a high tip ball off the hands of his intended receiver, the tight end Wesley Walls, the guy you had at New Orleans. He can really catch the football.
Well, Wesley's has got excellent hands. He's got as good a hands for not only a tight end but for any receiver as any tight end I've been around. Plus he's extremely intelligent in running routes. He knows how to get open. He's just got kind of a feel for getting open. As you can see, he's got 15 touchdown passes, which is the most for any tight end in the National Football League. He's got five this year already. He's a tremendous weapon in this Panther offense.
He is, even more than Ben Coates. Here's the throw. No more to use. Extol the virtues of Wesley Walls as a receiver, and he demonstrates his ability to get open and to make the catch. A 20-yard gain on the play.
Well, this is pretty good coverage by number 43, Lorenzo Lynch. But Collins does a nice job of throwing the football where Lynch can't stop it. Now he's on him pretty good right there. But Collins throws it over that outside shoulder, and Wesley's open just enough to make the catch. Now, he's a heck of a receiver. We had him for 2 years at New Orleans. He had been with the 49ers before that. Had never been much of a threat or a weapon as a receiver. Played behind Brett Jones, who is an excellent tight end with the 49ers. We picked him up as an unrestricted free agent. He kind of blossomed into his own with us, and then the Panthers got him as an unrestricted free agent, and he's had 2 extra years for them as a receiver.
Having an excellent day today. He said he likes to play against a defense the Raiders show, the man-to-man. He calls the mano-a-mano a real challenge to get open on your own. You know what you have to do, what you have to beat. Here's Collins with a quarterback keep, and a marker is thrown high in the air. It's obviously a busted play. There were no blockers in front. Kerry Collins did the wise thing and get out of bounds before Raider linebacker Mike Morton could hit him.
Yeah, that obviously was a mix-up there by the offensive football team. It looked like a busted play. Collins just took the ball, scrambled to his left, ran out of bounds.
Offense, number 78, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
The left tackle is 78, Blake Brockermeyer. Right there.
It's like a takedown.
There, he tackles him right there. He loses him, and when he loses Smith, then he as he's falling, he tries to tackle him, throw him down. The official saw it.
Good tackle, though. We're down now to the 2-minute warning with the Panthers leading the Raiders 21-7. The MetLife blimp Snoopy 1 has teamed up with NBC Sports to provide you with aerial coverage of today's game between the Raiders and the Panthers. The MetLife blimp typically cruises at a speed of 35 miles an hour at an altitude of 1,200 feet. You've got guys in the field that can go faster than 35 miles an hour.
A lot of them out there.
It's first down. 1st and 20 for the Carolina Panthers. Collins takes a look. Searching out a receiver, swings it out nicely, and he gets Mark Carrier. The ball is stripped from him by Albert Lewis. But it is Carolina's ball after a 10-yard gain.
This is 1st and about 20, and what they do in these kind of situations, they try to get number 23 at the bottom of your screen, Anthony Johnson, in the game. They're trying to get him manned up, but Carrier gets open, and Collins makes a nice adjustment and gets him the football. He was really looking for Anthony Johnson that time, running with the linebacker, but the linebacker had him covered, so Collins went to Carrier.
Chicago and the Colts contending for the #1 pick in the draft, along with Atlanta and New Orleans at this point. #1 pick could be out of Washington State. Ryan Leaf, the quarterback. I think he grades out ahead of Manning at this point. Here is Anthony Johnson running the ball down to the 16-yard line. Eric Turner knocks him down. There is a penalty marker down in the play.
When you talk to Joe Pendry, the offensive coordinator for the Panthers, the things he tells you, he says, we can't beat ourselves. We're not a big play team. We've got to be efficient to move down the field and get in the end zone. Being efficient means no penalties, means no mental errors, means no turnovers.
Holding during the run on the defense, number 43. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Now this is a holding call on the defense. It wasn't on the Panther offense. This is a lack of discipline on the Raider defense. They've had a number of penalties so far this first half. They've been pretty good here this year in holding down their penalties, which they haven't done in previous years. But right there's a costly penalty for them.
On Lorenzo Lynch, another of those longtime veterans in the secondary. He's an 11-year veteran from Sacramento State, so Joe Bugle looks on as his Raider defense challenged again by Carolina, looking to score a 4th first-half touchdown. Fred Lane, and there is a tremendous hit as Morton, the outside linebacker, and McLaughlin combined to make the stop. Big Chester beat the block, and also Anthony Smith was on the play. He might have been the first hitter.
They're going to bring Morton off the corner. And Anthony Smith, number 94, they're getting penetration now to stop that run. They're not getting pushed off the line like they were earlier. They're getting good penetration that time.
That brings up 2nd down and 9. The ball at the 10-yard line. Panthers could get another first down in this drive. Handoff straight up the middle. Scott Green, he's heading in. Touchdown Carolina. 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half. The Panthers had only 3 rushing touchdowns in their first 8 games.
Well, Scott Green doesn't get many opportunities to carry the football, so when he does, he gets excited when he can get in that end zone. He may not get more than 1 or 2 carries a game, but when he gets them, he makes the most of it.
And Scott Green, the man that Berline says you can't stop, you can only hope to contain, gets his first touchdown of the year.
Well, he was a running back in college at Michigan State, got a lot of opportunities to carry the ball there. But so far here in this offense, as the fullback, he's used primarily as a blocker or a receiver.
Good hold by Ken Walder, the punter, who's the holder. It was a low snap, but he got it down for Casey, and it's now a 28-7 game. The Panthers in the lead.
Oh, this is just getting the right side of that Panther offensive line does a good job blocking right there, and Green sees the opening and cuts it back. But that right side of that offensive line, Garrido and Skripnik just blow those guys off the ball and make it easy for Green to get in the end zone.
The Carolina offensive line, coached by the famous Jim Mouse McNally, one of the best offensive line coaches in the business, many years at Cincinnati, and he says that Garrido, the lead blocker you mentioned there, Jim, is really emerging into a star, a huge offensive tackle from Southern California. Skripnik, of course, is the former Raider.
They like this offensive line. They feel that this is the best offensive line that they've had in the 3 years that this club has been in existence. And one of the things they like about it is it's a young offensive line. It's going to get better and better as the more they play together.
Here's how the Raider defense has done in the last 6 possessions against Seattle in the first. Wow.
Not very impressive, and it's hard to figure out what's wrong with this group. You know, one of the things you see down there in the field as you watch them play is a lack of effort by all 11 players on every play. Sometimes they got guys just standing around watching the ball carrier run for first down. You can't win that way.
Now Desmond Howard runs back the kickoff, comes to the near side, uses his speed to get across the 25 and out of bounds at the 29-yard line. 28-yard return on the play. Coming up, the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg Gumbel, Chris Collinsworth, Joe Gibbs, and Sam Weich will update the day's happenings around the NFL. Plus a conversation with Steelers' Jerome Bettis, the bus.
You know, you mentioned Don earlier about comparing the Panther team with last year. Last year they won primarily with defense. Today their offense has been very impressive.
Yes, it has. Well, just the fact 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half, more than they had in the previous 8 games combined. Here is Jeff George, a hard throw, and Tim Brown goes low to the ground and makes the catch for an 11-yard gain and a first down. Toy Cook was right on him, but the ball was right where it needed to be.
The Raiders are in a hurry-up offense right now. They're not huddling. They've got less than a minute to go in the half. Trying to hit Brown again.
Tim Brown with a 10-yard gain. Game clock, as you see, ticking down to 32 seconds to play and stopped. Tim Brown putting up some big numbers today. He has caught 5 passes so far today for 76 yards. 54 receptions for the season.
Well, if the Panthers are going to double any one receiver in that Raider offense, it's got to be number 81, Tim Brown. They kind of mix up their coverage right there. Number 37, Chad Cota. They're playing a zone coverage, but Chad Cota has got to cover the guy in that hook zone. He's pretty close to Brown, but not close enough. Now, what they want to do right here, they don't want to give up the long play. There's only 32 seconds left in the half. The ball's on the 50-yard line. Let them have the short ones and make the tackle. Don't give up the big play or the easy touchdown at this point. Stay deep in your coverage. That's what you got to do. Keep all the receivers in front of you. Let them catch it. If they are going to catch it for a short gain, come up and make a good tackle.
Tim Brown, it was interesting how Joe Bugle talked about him. He said the great ones like Brown have a confidence that almost borders on an arrogance that you have to like. He doesn't say a lot, Tim Brown, Bugle said, but when he talks, everybody listens. And he said, get me the ball more today. If you want to do better on third down, the Raiders have been converting only 25% of their third downs. Jeff George stands in, makes a throw. This time he was going at his tight end Dudley, and the hit was beautifully timed by the rookie safety Mike Minter, number 30, a second-round pick out of Nebraska.
The Panthers give you so many looks on defense. They're a defense that tries to confuse. They try to mess you up over there in offense and make it difficult for you to decide who's rushing the passer, who to block. And that time they brought both Lathan and Mills on the rush.
An interesting contrast to the Raiders defense, which you say is so very basic.
Totally opposite.
They're down and short for the Raiders. They're going to throw, needing only a yard. They get the connection. That is Dudley, the big tight end from Ohio State. The emerging star, as he is down to the 37-yard line, a 14-yard gain, but time very much a factor, and the clock is down to 16 seconds in the first half. So the Raiders quickly call for a timeout. So Jeff George will have about 3 shots at the end zone. A natural grass playing field here in Charlotte. But on October 10th, Erickson Stadium played host to the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger and company tore it up on stage, and they also tore up the turf. Last week's game against the Falcons hadn't quite recovered from the big night. There's Mick Jagger. See, they keep Keith Richards in the band, so Mick Jagger will look like he's alive. And there's the field they had to tap down, which they did. Now it's back in great playing shape.
Don, the Panthers have scored 4 rushing touchdowns today. That's the most they've ever scored in a game in their existence as a football team. The most they'd ever scored coming into this game in one game was 2. "16
seconds to go in the first half. Raiders down 28-7. Jeff George throws the out pattern. It comes in way high as there was a lot of people covering Tim Brown, so he went to number 82, the very fast James Jett, who has caught 8 touchdown passes this season.
He credits the fact that he's caught 8 touchdown passes this season, which is a lot more than he's ever caught before in his whole career, to the fact that he's got a quarterback like Jeff George who is going to go to him more often than say Hostetler did or some other quarterback they've had.
James Jett, a gold medal winner at the '92 Olympic Games in Barcelona as part of the 4x100 meter relay team. George stands in on second down, end zone throw, and he overshoots his man. Again, he was going to Jett. Very good coverage by Ty Poole. 38. 6 seconds left. I guess you take one more over the top shot at the end zone.
Yeah, it's too long for a field goal, so the only thing, you got one play left, you've got to throw it into the end zone. You've got to get people down there and throw it deep. And of course the Panthers, what they've got to do is not allow, they've got to stay deep, get back there in a prevent. This is where you play your prevent defense. Get your defenders back there deep and let them catch something in front of you. Just don't let them get in the end zone. Last play, the Raiders got to go for the end zone on this one.
Tim Brown is the slot back, second back down from the top. Jeff George stands in. He gets some time. He throws an out pattern to Tim Brown, and there's still a second left on the clock. So nicely done by the Raiders. A 10-yard gain. Tim Brown with his 6th catch of the day.
Well, maybe that's why I'm not coaching anymore. But what they did was good strategy too. They felt like they had time to get the out route to Brown, get him out of bounds, and get in position to kick the field goal. So they're going to settle for 3 points. Now he's fired up about it. That was good. That was a good play. Good coaching call, good move, and good execution by the offense.
Cole Ford will try a 45-yard field goal attempt. He hit a career-long 53-yarder against Seattle. Here's a high-spinning kick. Will it get there? It does not.
Well, when you make a move like that, then you got to feel confident that your field goal kicker is going to get one through. That didn't happen that time. He should have made that.
So the first half ends in a standing ovation for the Carolina Panthers here at their home stadium, as with 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half, they've taken a 28-7 lead. We'll be sending you to Greg Gumbel and the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report after these messages from your local station. Teed up. Back deep, Tim Hall and also Desmond Howard. They need big plays, and the Raiders really were held down. The explosive offense of the Raiders was pretty much held in check by the Carolina defense in the first half. Well placed by Casey, gets it to Hall away from Howard, and he's out to the 27-yard line. And there Jeff George and the Raider offense will go out first down and 10. 21-yard return by Hall. If you look at the Coors Light halftime statistics, huge advantage for Carolina, Jim, in the rushing.
I think that's the key stat here, because one, Oakland was going to try to run the ball on Carolina, who's had a tough time defending the run all year, and they've held them to 20 yards. Plus, Carolina is running the ball, scored 4 rushing touchdowns, and when they run the ball like that, they keep time of possession. As you can see, it keeps that explosive Raider offense off the field.
Somewhat ironic. Usually when you give up 28 first half points, you'd have 3 turnovers. Raiders haven't turned the ball over at all.
Well, the Raiders have been pretty good all year about protecting the football.
Here's a throw up the middle to Napoleon Kaufman, who has scored the Raiders' only touchdown of the play on a swing pass of the game. A 9-yard gain on that. So the Raiders here in the second half really have to get things going. Don CRIQUI with Jim Moore. And Jim, as you look at the Raider defense, though, there's been a lot of indicting remarks made at halftime by people who think that they're just not playing hard at this point.
Well, they don't play hard consistently. Some plays they play hard. Some plays they got 9 guys hustling and 2 guys standing around. They've been very poor tacklers today, and they haven't played with good fundamentals or good discipline. That's been their problem all year long.
We'll see what they do when the defense comes out. Right now, the offense trying to pick it up as George steps in. A marker is thrown. He shuffles the ball to Derek Fenner on a 2nd and 1, and he's ahead to the 45-yard line, but there could be a holding call against the Raiders. Stopping the clock with 14 minutes to play in the third quarter. Now it's going to be against the defense. Illegal use of hands, defensive holding, and that is an automatic first down for the Raiders.
Well, one thing that Joe Bugle didn't, what he wanted to do.
Illegal use of the hands, hands to the face. defense, number 69. Penalties declined. First down.
One thing Joe Bugle wanted to do is he didn't want to get into this situation because he loves to run the football. He's got a great back in Napoleon Kaufman who can run the football, but now they got to throw. They're down by 3 touchdowns. They got to throw most of the time. Takes Kaufman out of the football game.
He's in the game, but he'll probably be working as a receiver as he comes in motion to the near side. Napoleon Kaufman. Jeff George on first down. Throws and gets Dudley, his tight end. And he's ahead for a very short gain to about the 48-yard line. So that well-positioned Carolina defense you've been talking about, Jim, just not giving much up. They're keeping the receivers in front of them.
The Carolina defense is very well disciplined. They're fundamentally sound. They're well coached. Vic Fangio and his staff do an outstanding job with these guys. They're not blessed with a tremendous amount of talent and the defensive line, but they always play hard. And that's one of the differences right now between their defense and the Raider defense. They play hard with 11 guys on every down.
Second down and 7 arises. Jeff George takes a look. He lofts the ball down to Tim Brown, who makes the catch inside the 20. And Tim Brown is all the way down to the 10-yard line on a sensational throw-catch play. Good for a 42-yard gain.
Well, the Raiders need to get some big plays, and you're going to see Tim Brown at the bottom of your screen working on Eric Davis. He makes a little stutter step there and beats Davis to the inside. Well-thrown ball. Davis has got to stay back there. He makes a poor decision to try to go in front of Brown and knock down the football. He's got to stay back and play the ball better.
We asked Davis yesterday how he defends against all the speed receivers. He said they're not as fast. They have a hand in their chest. Said he can only do that for 5 yards. He said that's all you're supposed to do it for. Here is a sack as Jeff George is caught by a blitz. Lamar Lathan with only his 2nd sack of the year. He had 13.5 last season, but he grades out as a very effective player even with a limited amount of sacks.
Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, here he comes right there. And he gets off. What happens there? He gets off on the snap a lot quicker than Harlow. Harlow's slow on the snap. You'll see Latham. Latham is by him before he even reacts. That's just good, quick get off by Latham. As you mentioned, he's playing well. He doesn't have the sacks that he had last year. Last year he was 2nd in the league, 13.5 sacks. This is his 2nd sack all year, but he's playing good football.
Well, the Raiders now set back to the 16-yard line. And we have a timeout as Jeff George wants to get some counsel from the sideline. One thing about the Raiders, they can make it happen fast. They are down at this point 28-7. But we're early in the 3rd quarter. As they're sold out again. They are every game here in Charlotte. Carolina Panthers in their 3rd year, in their 2nd season. What an extraordinary year. A divisional championship. And then on to the NFC title game where they lost at Green Bay. They came in one game of the Super Bowl. George takes a look. Dances and throws. He's got a man open. Touchdown. James Jett with his 9th touchdown reception of the season. That from 16 yards out.
The key on this play is the protection that George is getting. The Raiders haven't done a lot of good things today, but one of the things they've done well, there's Jett, 82 in the slot, and he's going to come right across the field. The Panthers are playing zone defense, and he gets behind the safety, Coda, right there, and makes the play. That corner's got to stay deep in that end zone. I was going to say one of the things that the Raiders have done well today is pick up those Carolina zone blitzes and given George time to throw.
Jett really made it look easy on that out pattern. Now the extra point is kicked up and through by Cole Ford with 11:32 to go in the 3rd quarter. It is now a 28-14 game. Raiders kick off when we come back.
This is James Jett. He's fired up in that sideline now. He's going to try to get the rest of his teammates fired up. That was a good drive by the Raiders going right down the field. Good touchdown throw to him. He's over there trying to get the rest of his team fired up. He's got to get that defense fired up. That's the key right now. Somebody's got to be talking to that defense.
Jeff George was firing it up. He was 5 for 5 for 77 yards and a touchdown in that drive. There's Michael Bates returning the kickoff for Carolina. Penalty markers down as Bates takes it out close to the 33-yard line. 28-yard return. It's going to be a blocking foul against Carolina, but let's watch the last touchdown.
This is a good route and a good call by the Raiders, he's going to run a deep crossing route right there. And the guy that's got to help on this play is number 25, the left corner, Eric Davis. And he gets occupied by this receiver right there. He's got to stay back there and react up on the play when they throw the ball to Jet.
Here's Eric Davis, a terrific player. This was the ultimate free agent acquisition. When they signed him as a free agent from San Francisco last year, they greatly strengthened their own team. And the biggest win in the history of this franchise was when the Panthers went out to San Francisco last year near the end of the season and beat the 49ers at Candlestick. And Eric Davis, the ex-49er, made the key interception in that game. And he has been an outstanding defensive back. Also a team leader. We'll talk about the team meeting he called for. Here is Trapp coming over, making a hit on Caruth. Well timed. Nicely done by James Trapp, who backs it up with some conversation.
Well, this Raider defense, in my opinion, has been very lackadaisical so far in this game. Now they're getting a little bit fired up right there. McDaniel tries to break up on the play, and Caruth runs by him, but Trapp comes over and makes a big hit, getting people fired up. They need to get fired up. They need to get excited. Sometimes it takes a hit like that to get him going.
Here's a guy who's at the Olympics as an alternate sprinter. He would have run, had not they gone with Kyle Lewis in that 4x100 meters in Barcelona. He would have run one Olympic gold.
Well, as I said earlier, that the whole key to the second half is if the Raider defense can step it up and start playing like they're capable of playing. So far, they haven't. They've got to stop the Panthers and get their offense back on the field, because as we saw in that last offensive drive by the Raiders can score quick.
Freddie Whittingham, the defensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders, looking on. Raider defense digging in now. 3rd and long for Collins in the Carolina offense. They need 10. Another blitz and a sack. So they get the corner sack by Albert Lewis, the 15-year veteran from Grambling. And so the Raiders are starting to pick it up now on the defensive
Albert
side.
Lewis moves in and covers the slot receiver when they go to their nickel. And here he comes off the corner inside of Fredrickson. Nobody blocks him. He gets the sack.
And that forces the punter, Ken Walter of Carolina, to get deep in his own end zone to punt it out of there. Raiders can come out of this with very good field position. There's Desmond Howard standing at midfield. High punt by Walter. Howard comes up on it. He'll fair catch the ball at the 47-yard line. So the Raiders, who just scored, will be in good field position to start a new drive.
Before the New Orleans game, Eric Davis, number 25 for the Panthers, called a team defensive meeting.
Talked about accountability. What he expected from his teammates, what they should expect from him. But there was too many excuses being made as Jeff George launches long. He's got a man, and it is almost intercepted. Tyrone Poole is playing some terrific cornerback today for the Carolina Panthers. They've been going at him a lot, and he's been standing up to it.
Poole played his best game last week, and he is really coming on, according to the Panther coaches. Got his work cut out for him today, covering Jet, who's extremely fast.
Jet.
The Panthers were going to double up 81 Brown, the other receiver, which left Poole man for man on Jet. He does a good job right there.
And that makes it 2nd down and 10 for Jeff George and the Raiders. 46-yard line of Carolina. Raiders now down by 14. Nothing happening as they try to run the ball with Napoleon Kaufman.
Following up on Eric Davis, when Eric Davis called that team meeting, or that defensive team meeting, he had never done something like this, but he has emerged now as a vocal leader of this defensive football team. When they lost Kevin Green in the offseason, they needed someone like Eric Davis to step up and do some things like that. He said some things needed to be said. There'd been a lot of excuse making among some of the players. He needed to say, hey guys, we got to be accountable for how we play. The bottom line is do your job, don't talk about it.
You didn't want to hear any more about this stuff. I came from another system.
Right.
They said, well, you're in this system now, play it. 3rd down and 12. Here's Jeff George standing up, firing to Tim Brown, and he's down to the 33-yard line. Tim Brown, I'll tell you, he's magnificent week after week.
He sure is. And the key The key here is the fact that the Raiders, and they haven't done a lot right today, but they have done a good job of blocking the zone blitzes. Their offensive line, their backs are tied in. When you block those zone blitzes, you give your quarterback time. You're going to find a hole there in that zone coverage because you're covering zone with less defenders than you normally do. And you're going to find an open spot, and they're doing that. And the key goes back to the protection.
Tim Brown, who's had a lot of stupendous days, has now 8 receptions for 142 yards in this game. Jeff George, he came in high. It's picked off by Sam Mills. And Mills on the run takes it out to the Carolina 45. So the most popular Panther delivers big on defense as Jeff George had to jump up and try to elude the pass rushers. Right to the wrong guy, and Sam runs it back 22 yards.
Well, this is, like you say, Jeff George could not make a good throw right there. He's got people in his face, so he jumps up, makes a bad throw, a high throw. Sam's in the right place at the right time. There's Mills. He's going to drop back into his zone. He's keeping his eyes on the quarterback in the right place at the right time. When you play good disciplined football, a lot of times you're going to make plays when the other teams make mistakes. That's what Sam Mills did that time.
We asked Sam if he'd ever go into coaching because everybody's going to want him to, and he said he and his wife have talked it over at length, and he is going to probably go into coaching. Ultimately wants to be an NFL head coach.
I thought Sam Mills was smarter than that. No, he'd make a great coach. You know, he's a coach on the field right now for this Panther team. He was a coach on the field for us at New Orleans. As long as I've coached him, he's been the guy that's taken charge of that defense. A lot of times during the week when you're preparing for a team, Sam will come up with ideas. He'll say, hey, what about this? What about this? I suggest we do this. Wouldn't this be a good call? And he's the kind of guy that you listen to. When he makes a suggestion, you listen to him.
And not many guys have had as much success as he has where there's success as well. He really can handle it. Very humble guy.
Very classy.
It is 2nd down and 9 as Collins stands in, fires the ball, and he gets Wesley Walls. Here Collins is right back in AAA form. 13-yard throw, threading it right in.
Wesley Walls is so good on this kind of a route. He runs a little seam route to the outside, and he gets outside position on the linebacker, Beekert, and Collins hits him. Collins and Wesley Walls do a good job on that route. Good timing, good accuracy by Collins.
Wesley Walls, you see 5 catches today for 76 yards. The interception by Sam Mills, the first turnover of the day, stopped the Raider drive. A blitz and a throw. It's dropped by Ray Caruth, the rookie from Colorado, the #1 draft choice this year of the Panthers. As they put pressure, they wanted to get in Collins' face, and that's
a lot of times as an offensive team, you can't account for everybody. Right there, Lorenzo Lynch is rushing from the secondary position. That guy is accountable to the quarterback. Collins has got to get rid of the ball before he gets hit by Lynch. You can't block everybody. Sometimes the quarterback is responsible for a man, and that means get rid of the ball before he sacks him.
See the comparison numbers here, Jim. Both quarterbacks throwing the ball very well. Here is a pump fake, and now a throw, and a little bit too much lead on it. As Collins upset with himself because he had his man open. Ragib Ismail running an in pattern.
Well, this is the turnovers for Atlanta. You can see there when they win the I'm sorry, Atlanta. For the Panthers, when they win the turnover battle, the takeaway giveaway ratio, they win the football game. When they're even or plus, they're going to win. When they're minus on the takeaway giveaway ratio, they're normally going to lose. This has been the history throughout their 3 seasons as a National Football League team.
Yeah, this year they're 4-0 when they're even in turnovers or plus. They're 0-4 when they're negative in turnovers this year. And Collins somehow gets it away. The Raider defense really picking up its effort. Linebacker Mike Morton and Lorenzo Lynch again pressuring. And they force an errant throw.
As you said, Don, the Raider defense is picking up. Again, they're blitzing with Morton, number 50, putting good pressure on Collins. The good thing about Collins, though, is he's got the agility to get away from that rush and at least try to get a completion. But
Eric Turner also coming up to help.
But the Raiders seem to be playing with much more intensity on defense the second half.
It's a 28-14 game. Panthers have the lead. Ken Walter, their rookie punter, hits a high punt. And that forces the fair catch at the 14-yard line by Desmond Howard. So the Raiders get it back when we return to Charlotte. NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. Visit NFL.com for all of the scores and stats, including a complete roundup of this weekend's scores in action. Plus, chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars. It's all at NFL.com. Raiders go to the run. Not a whole lot there for Napoleon Kaufman as he's trapped and knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Michael Barrow, outside linebacker 56, brought him down. Pat Harlow, the left tackle for the Raiders, a former #1 pick of New England, has the rare problem for most players of not being able to hold weight.
Right, this offseason, Don, his weight got down to 275. He likes to report to camp at around 300. He got down to 275, so he hired a nutritionist to help him gain weight. The nutritionist said you got to eat 7 meals a day.
He started with a dozen eggs and 2 bowls of oatmeal in the morning and a piece of chicken. Get that cholesterol level up. 6 more eggs at night, a couple of pounds of steak during the day. He'd have about 7 meals.
Now, one of his in-between meals of those 7, he had 2 cans of tuna, 2 cups of rice. Then at lunch, they'd say you got to eat a pound of steak. Can you imagine eating 12 dozen eggs for breakfast?
And the nutritionist,
or a dozen eggs for breakfast.
Anytime you woke up at night, go down and eat peanut butter.
That's right. That was the best one.
And you, being a man of great hygiene, want to know if he brushed his teeth. San Diego getting closer to Cincinnati. Jeff George throws. He makes the connection. Ball on the field. It's incomplete. But there's also a penalty marker down, it appears. Stopping the clock with 5 minutes and 26 seconds to play in the 3rd quarter. It's a 28-14 game, Carolina. Joe Bugel. He's seen a lot of calls, but this one we're not quite sure of.
Personal foul, illegal chop block, number 71 on the offense. Penalties decline. 4th down.
Well, this is a rule that was put in a few years ago. You don't see it called much, but it's a good rule because what it does is an illegal chop block is when one offensive lineman when one player sets in a pass, an offensive lineman sets in a pass and is in a position to pass block a guy, and another offensive player comes in at the same time and cuts him low, that's illegal. And they do it strictly for the player's safety, for the defensive player's safety. It's a good rule, and that was a good call.
False start, offense, number 84. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
There's number 96. Darrell Russell, and he's coming around there, and you can see that number 22 Harvey Williams that chop blocks him right there. Number 71 Lester Holmes was blocking him also. You can't have one guy hit him low and one guy hit him high.
Actually, Sean King, the guy who was chop blocked.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Sean King.
Here is the punch from the end zone, and the ball is hit down to Tyrone Poole back at his 43-yard line. He starts wide, eludes one tackler, and spins out to the 49-yard line. And this has been the case most of the day. The Panthers will go on offense with very good field position. With the Panthers in the lead 28-14. Chester McLaughlin, an integral part of the Raider defense. He can be great. Sometimes he can be less than great.
There was some criticism of his play earlier in the year. The last 2 weeks prior to this game, he's played his best football of the year, and today he seems to be playing pretty well too.
On a 1st down carry, they go to Fred Lane, who scored the game's first 2 touchdowns, the rookie free agent runner. McLaughlin is from North Carolina, from Whiteville, which he says they pronounce really Whiteville here. We've got 60 family members and friends here, and that's some of the Chester McLaughlin rooting section.
Yeah, we asked him, we said, you know, how many tickets did you have to buy? He said, I had to buy 60 tickets. That's a pretty good chunk out of the paycheck. But most of these guys down there in that field can afford that right now, especially Chester McLaughlin. But I'm sure that his family and friends being here is helping him to play with a little bit more inspiration today, although he doesn't need that.
2nd down. Collins stops, takes a look, swings the ball over near side to Anthony Johnson, and he's ahead inside the 40-yard line, and he has a 1st down for the Panthers. 10-yard gain on the play on 2nd down and 8.
This is a screen play to Anthony Johnson, and he's going to run a screen out there. He's going to block and then release. Good call. You see number 66 out in front. Frank Garcia, number 65, Matthew Campbell, number 66. That's what those linemen are supposed to do. Go downfield and block on those secondary people and linebackers.
The Panthers will have to bring their A game on the road within the next couple of weeks. It gets as tough as it can be this year in the NFL. They have to play at Denver, then at San Francisco. Fred Lane runs, and they shut him down at about the 36-yard line. So we look at the Carolina Panthers' upcoming schedule.
Not easy.
3 straight road games coming up. It gets a little easier when they go to St. Louis and come home to play New Orleans. Then at Dallas, Green Bay here in St. Louis here. As mentioned, if they win today, they will be 5-4, and that's where they were through 9 games last year were the Panthers. And then they ran the table on the next 8 games. They were unbeaten as they won right through the rest of the regular season to finish 12-4. Won the first playoff game here at Charlotte, beating Dallas. Then they went to Green Bay on that bitter cold day and lost in the NFC Championship game. Lofted ball to the Rocket. Rocket Ismail going high, but he can't come down with it. As Perry Carter, number 20, covers well for the Raiders.
Perry Carter, number 20, had a very rough day last week against the Seattle Seahawks. Warren Moon picked on him all day. Here he's playing a bump and run on Ismail. The key for Perry Carter right there, he's always got pretty good coverage. He's got to make plays on the ball. That time he made the play on the ball. A lot of times guys can cover well, but when the ball's thrown, they're not making the play. The receiver comes down with the ball. That time Perry Carter won the battle.
And it brings up 3rd down and 8 for Carolina. Collins stands in, sidearms the ball hard and fast, but not close to the intended receiver, Ray Caruth.
A little bit of miscommunication there. As I said earlier in the game, against this bump and run man coverage, what they're doing with the receivers, the Panthers, is taking them hard down the field and then stopping. Get that defender running fast with them, then they stop, come back to the ball, and they've got position on the defender. That time, I think the receiver went a little bit too deep. Collins underthrew the football.
Here's a 54-yard field goal attempt coming up by John Casey. His only misses this year have been over 50 yards. He's 1 for 4 from 50+. He hits the ball. Man, that thing would have been good from 70. What a field goal. He hit a 52-yarder earlier this year. He just hit a 54-yarder. He'd have broken Dempsey's record had he been back far enough.
That thing was extremely well hit. He could have, his career long is 55 yards, and he was way beyond that.
Man, did he hit that.
Good snap, good hole. Boy, he came through strong that time. He nailed it.
Georgia Bulldog, Bill Polian, when they first started putting this team together, realized as an expansion team, you have to have a good kicking game. You're not going to be in the end zone as much as you'd like, and so he went out and got the best placed kicker he could, and Casey, and last year he ended up as the leading scorer in the NFL to John Casey. NBC tonight. They thought a serial killer was on the loose.
I don't think he should.
You mentioned how Bill Polian felt like he had to start with a good kicking game. I think the Panthers made they started this franchise, an expansive franchise, with the right philosophy. Kicking game and defense. And that's why they were able to win the NFC West Division Championship last year and go to the NFC Championship game, because they were very, very strong in the kicking game and extremely strong on defense. This year their offense is catching up.
Casey, a former Georgia Bulldog, boots the ball down on the kickoff to Desmond Howard. And he is out to the 21-yard line. A 16-yard return on the play is coming down to make a stop for Carolina was Dwight Stone, number 80, one of their best special team players, along with Michael Bates. Stone, a former Pittsburgh Steeler.
It's good when you can get those wide receivers on your kickoff team. A lot of wide receivers aren't the best cover guys in the world. They can run fast, but when they get down there and have to make a tackle, they're not the best tacklers in the world. But Stone is an exception to that. He's a good cover guy with his speed, plus he's a good tackler.
As he demonstrated then. Now Jeff George, his team down 31-14, has to start pitching again. Here comes a blitz. They pick it up. Pump faking. George takes a look. He gets a man, a beautifully thrown ball. And again, it is Tim Brown coming across the middle for a 12-yard gain and a first down.
Well, again, like they've been doing all day, they've done a good job of picking up the blitz. Toy Cook is coming from the right side of your screen. They're nickel back. But George avoids the rush. He scrambles to his right and hits Brown. He's always looking for Brown.
He's got 9 catches today, Tim Brown, for 154 yards. This time it's Napoleon Kaufman, and he breaks it for 15 yards and a first down. Eric Davis makes the tackle, and Lamar Lathan is on the turf, shaken up on the play, back at the 24-yard line.
Well, if Lathan's out of the game, that's going to hurt that rush. You know, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, was telling me yesterday that he really likes Lamar Lathan. He's
for the games in your area. That's an NFL and NBC doubleheader beginning at 12 noon Eastern time next Sunday. Raiders needing points, down 31-14 in the third quarter. Jeff George swings it to the open man. Up the middle goes Napoleon Kaufman. Dives to the turf so nobody gets a clean lick on him, and he gets ahead for a 10-yard gain and a first down.
Well, the Raiders are in a 2-minute offense, a 2-minute situation here late in the third quarter. No huddle, and this is what they've got to do. They don't have time to line up a huddle. They've got to go with the hurry-up offense.
Jeff George drops, and he's dropped at the 47-yard line. Andre Royal coming on a blitz.
Well, that time they blitzed Andre Royal right up the middle, and either he was not picked up because of a mental error. Here he comes. Either picked up because of a mental error, or somebody just missed a block.
Whatever it was, he got right through and made the sack. And so Jeff George now backpedals on second down, a throw and an incompletion. Looking at Tim Brown, who's looking for a flag. Thought he was grabbed by the jersey.
There's Brown. They've got Coda on him on the outside. They've got Andre Roll on the inside. They're going to put two people on Brown most of the time, some way, either short and deep or left and right. They're going to try to double him.
Tim Brown brings that little pouch along with him in front. I don't know if that's to keep his hands warm or to carry his money. He has a lot of that too. I guess for every precaution in case it was a little colder than expected. It's a beautiful day for football in the Carolinas. Here in Charlotte as Jeff George on third down. He needs 18. Throw to Ricky Dudley, and the ball is tipped away. Excellent breakup by the rookie Mike Minter. They've been really raving about the way
what you're going to see is a tremendous rush by number 69 Les Miller running over Lester Holmes. He just keeps his feet moving, powers Holmes right back into the quarterback, gets a good hit on George. That's a heck of a rush by Miller. Miller's not a nifty guy. He's a big, strong guy, weighs over 300 pounds. What he's going to do when he rushes the passer is just push that pocket, push that offensive lineman right back into the quarterback. That's what he did that time.
It's fortunate Jeff George wasn't hurt. I mean, he came in and where he was knocked into him, he hit him knee high. Here's the punt downfield. Garaguz hits the ball down, and they're going to let it hop, and it goes into the end. Does it? Let's see. Well, they're going to rule it clean, and it's going to be down inside the 5-yard line. Excellent special teams play. Coming down to make the play for the Oakland Raiders was Rob Holmberg, number 57.
This is a terrific play by number 57, Holmberg, on the punt coverage. It's a good punt by Araguz because he gets it good high with good hang time, but number 57, Holmberg, right there, jumps into the end zone, and before his feet comes down, he knocks the ball back into the playing field. Sometimes plays like that on the kicking game are overlooked as opposed to offensive plays or defensive plays. Those kind of plays are just as important. That's a terrific play. They got to keep this Panther offense now bottled up in their end of the field.
Got to force a turnover if they can. There's been only one in the game today. That's the interception by linebacker Sam Mills of Carolina. They go to the run into Fred Lane, and after his early success running for touchdowns, he has 2. He's now been shut down for the most part. The MetLife Blimp is now celebrating its 10th year of providing aerial coverage of sporting events and television specials throughout the United States. Combined, the blimps Snoopy 1 and Snoopy 2 have traveled over 600,000 miles since the program began, and none of those miles traveled at high speed. It's got to be nice up there, though.
Well, they've got a good view today, and it's a beautiful day. They thought it might rain today a couple days ago, but it's turned out to be a beautiful day.
Some rain came through last night. Turned out to be a perfect day. Temperature in the 60s as Kerry Collins fires a hard pass on the flank. And Rocket Ismail makes the catch as the quarter ends. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
He made some great throws today. He's playing very tough, very competitive.
He really sets the pace with toughness and competitiveness And there's a pitch back, and Fred Lane, who's been in most of the way since Biaka Batuka injured some ribs early in the game. Fred Lane runs it to the 25-yard line, a gain on the play of about 6 yards. Kaufman, Jim, he had 896 yards coming into the game, averaging 5.7 a carry.
Well, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, told us, he says the key to our game today defensively is not let Kaufman break the big play. They haven't done that.
You're like the godfather of this Carolina team. The coaches are all started under you. About 5 of the players were there.
That's why they're doing so well.
Here's the throw. I agree with you. Here's the throw out in the flat. It goes to Rocket Ismail. He made the catch. And Russell Maryland was putting the heat on quarterback Kerry Collins of Carolina.
It's interesting.
That's
why he's such a good football player.
Is he? 3 Super Bowl winners with Dallas he played on. 2 national championship teams at Miami of Florida. Fred Lane, they're really closing in on Fred now as he gets shut down. Lane is hit down as Beekert, the middle linebacker, came out and made the stop.
Greg Beekert, number
throw now. They like to run clock with that big lead, 31-14. Here's an all-out blitz. It's picked up. A throw and a catch by Rocket Ismail, and there goes the Rocket. Oh, they hold on. He almost broke it. James Trapp, number 37, held on. It was a 12-yard gain. Had James not held on, the Rocket was out of here.
Well, they're rushing 2 guys on a blitz, so that puts McDaniel one-on-one with Ismail. Gives him too much cushion. You got to play a little bit tighter when you're blitzing people. Can't let him get that short throw in there for a first down. You blitz people to put pressure on the quarterback. Don't let him get the first down. Those secondary people have got to play tighter.
See the Rocket having his best number of catches for the season, 5 today. He has 21 for the season. Handoff up the middle, not a whole lot happening. There is again Lane hit, breaking free and getting ahead for plus yards after it looked like he was stopped for no gain. Anthony game as Carolina's mounted a lot of big plays and consistent drives and has taken a 31-14 lead here in the 4th quarter with 11:08 to play in it. Straight up the middle goes Fred Lane. On 2nd down and 6, Fred Lane breaks open the Raider defense for a gain of 15 yards and a first down.
Tackling wasn't a problem on this play. What happens here is the offensive line for the Panthers just blocked the defensive line and linebackers for the Raiders. Take a look at number 43, the fullback in college is learning to be a blocker. In this offense, that fullback blocking is very important.
Hand off to the fullback, and Scott Green, the first back, takes it inside the 40-yard line of the Raiders down to the 38. Field yet, has he?
No, he hasn't played much with the 49ers. I think he's got 1 sack, but they've had a hard time getting him on the field, and he was hurt earlier in the year.
Here's the throw and a beautiful catch by Wesley Walls. James Trapp. Now they're going to rule that it was no catch, so apparently that's what Trapp was celebrating.
I'll tell you something, though, Don. I've seen the officials throw the flag there for taunting by a player. Trapp's got to be careful because I've seen a lot, not that bad. Trapp makes a nice play. He gets the ball out of there, but right there where he taunts Walls, that's not good. I've seen officials throw the flag on something like that. A lot less than something like that.
Walls might be mentioning to Trapp at this point the scoreboard, which reads Panthers 31, Raiders 14. A swing pass, and there's too much on it as Kerry Collins was looking towards Anthony Johnson. Ken Walter now ready to place the punt again. He hits the high end over end punt. Desmond Howard lets it hop. It's going to be down at the 2-yard line. Coming down to cover. Mark Bates was the guy. Ken is a free agent from Kent State. He was given a play-by-play in his last good punting effort on the sideline as the Raiders, Jeff George will throw from his end zone. Dumps it off to Derek Fenner. And he does well to get to the 5-yard line. A gain of just 3 yards on the play as the game clock. New England finally gets a touchdown in that game. Buffalo continues to lead the Dolphins. Important AFC Eastern game. The Jets continuing to lead the
position.
Raiders with difficult field position now. The ball positioned at their 5-yard line. Jeff George Firing downfield, and he's got his man, but the ball is knocked away as Chad Cota came over and made the hit on Kenny Shedd. Leo Araguz, a very good punter, hits the ball high and downfield. High pool waves it off, let it roll, and it'll be down at the 46-yard line. Well, 41. This team is together and playing as a team better than it's been all year, and they certainly have come up with their best effort today as they're looking to run clock now on first down. They run a slant at the quarterback challenge. Pinnacle Trading Cards had some fun with some NFL quarterbacks. Kerry Collins was among those featured at the photo shoot doing his best Elvis impersonation. Kerry also went out trick-or-treating in that outfit Friday night. I think that's the last time we held that on.
He's pulling some trick-or-treating on this Raider defense today. He's getting all sorts of gifts from it.
He's had some open guys, and he's been hitting them. Rocket Ismail on an end around.
This is such a big game for both teams. Defense.
Yeah, they were blasted at the half. They were down 28-7 at the half with the Raiders, and then scored the opening touchdown of the third quarter and seemed to be back in the game. And now they trail 31-14.
You know, well against Seattle or today against the Panthers.
Pitch back to Fred Lane. He goes wide, and Lane is going to be out of bounds at about the 33-yard line. The Raiders have had 2 one-point losses this year, and the over.
Very depressed because they had such high hopes for themselves coming into this season.
Yeah, there was great optimism, and with good reason. I mean, they have a lot of personnel. And here is Fred Lane following blocker Scott Green, and Lane turns it down close to the goal line. Is he in? He is. That's another rushing touchdown. A 32-yard run for a touchdown.
Well, we've been talking about that Raider defense. There's got to be somebody that comes up there and turns that play in. Number 96, Darrell Russell, gets caught inside. There is nobody to contain the run. That's just poor defense. That's unsound defense. You always have somebody to turn the run back inside. They didn't have anybody there. They were completely out of position.
Fred Lane, Jim, has now rushed for 127 yards, the rookie free agent, and 3 touchdowns. And if the lid wasn't on long ago, it is now 38-14 Carolina. He scores touchdowns.
To the Carolina coaches yesterday and Friday, they had a hard time containing their enthusiasm for Fred Lane. They wanted to say more good things about him than they really did. They really like him.
They like him even more today as Desmond Howard runs back the kickoff, turns it wide, and Casey gets him down with a chop block. John Casey, the kickoff man. 33-yard return. Here's the last touchdown.
Take a look at this touchdown run by Lane, but the guy I want you to focus on is the fullback, number 43, Scott Green. He's going to be the lead blocker on here. If the Raiders are playing good defense, he should have somebody to block right on the line of scrimmage. As a result, he comes around the corner, has no one to block. The first contact he makes is downfield on Eric Turner, 5 yards from the end zone. That's poor defense by the Raiders.
A one-man convoy for Fred Lane into the end zone, and Fred's having a good time. Jeff George dropping on first down, throws an out pattern, and gets it out to his man. That's Desmond Howard making the catch as they go with extra wide receivers. And he stops the clock. There's Jerry Richardson, the former Baltimore Colt, who's done a great job as the Panthers owner. Boy, they've done it all right here, and he's got to be pleased today. Here's a guy that made good use of a playoff check when he was with the Colts. $4,400 check. Some guys would go to Vegas. He plopped it into a fast food franchise and later became, I think, the biggest fast food franchisee in the country. Tremendously successful, and now he has a very, very good football team as the throw downfield is to Dudley, the tight end. He gets a first down, then he's thrown back at about the 43-yard line.
And talking to Dom Capers about Jerry Richardson, Dom cannot say enough good things about Jerry Richardson as an owner of this football team. Marty Schottenheimer, the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, told me a few weeks ago, I said, what's the most important thing for a head coach in the NFL? He said, well, Jim, there's 3 things that are most important. Number 1 is owner, number 2 is owner, and number 3 is owner.
Jeff George shaken up as he was twisted down when he was sacked on that play. I think he's grabbing at his mid
abdominal muscle. That's just Turnbull being offsides, and, you know, Harlow couldn't do anything about that one.
David Klingler's now in the game, and his first throw is for a completion. He hits James Jett, who's quickly tackled by Tyrone Poole. A gain of 6 yards on the play. The Raiders with more first-round draft choices on their roster. Not all of them were made by the Raiders, some from other teams that they acquired later, but they have 18 first-round draft choices, including Klingler, who was a very high pick of the Bengals and was just beaten up there by very poor offensive line play. He was just overwhelmed, but he put up passing numbers at the Donald Hollis, who also played collegiately in the city of Houston at Rice University, as the 3rd quarterback. Here is a throw in the flat. Comes in low, and they're going to rule that it was a catch by Desmond Howard. Now let's take a look at the Miller game from Tim Brown. 9 receptions for 155 yards, but not nearly enough. Here's another catch by Tim Brown. His 10th catch of the day. He has 59 for the season through 9 games.
You showed that game summary. I think the key stat there was that unexpected stat. The Carolina Panthers with 5 rushing touchdowns. The most they've ever had since they've started in this league were 2 in one game. Today they got 5, and it ran the ball very well against the Raiders.
Jeff George injured some ribs, had to come out of the game, played very well for the Raiders, threw 2 touchdown passes today, has 20 for the season against just 4 interceptions, as the Raiders run the ball right at Carolina, but the Raiders down 38-14 with 4:05 to play.
Now that interesting there. They give the ball to Harvey Williams, one of the running backs last year. That was his first carry of the season because he'd been a tight end up at this point.
Here's a throw to the end zone. They're looking at Tim Brown, who has 10 catches today for 163 yards, but Klingler's way high on him, and so somebody has to every week. Here is Klingler firing over the middle. He gets Dudley, a nice catch off his hip, and he advances the ball down to the 6-yard line for
down the field, but they're really running out of time, being down 38-14 with 3.5 minutes to go.
Klingler hands off, gives the ball to Harvey Williams, and he's going to be taken down at about the line of scrimmage. Les Miller, number 69, rode him down, and the game clock keeps ticking down. So the Raiders into alignment without a huddle, trying to get into the end zone. Klingler takes a look, fires, throws hard, and he might be picked off. I think he is. Tyrone Poole, who's played superbly all day, puts a topper on it by making the interception, his 2nd of the year.
When I asked Vic Fangio yesterday about guys that have been playing well, there's Poole there covering on number 82 Jett. He's kind of doesn't have to worry about too much cushion there in the end zone. Good coverage. Heck of a catch. Really good coverage. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, I says, who are some of the guys that have been playing well for you? He says, he mentioned Tyrone Poole. He mentioned 3 or 4 guys. He mentioned Tyrone Poole. He said Tyrone Poole had his best game of the season last week, and one of his better games since he's been with the club. He made a heck of an interception right there. This guy's playing with more confidence all the time.
He is. Ty Poole, a good player from Fort Valley State, now in his 3rd year. Ready to run the ball are the Panthers, looking to run the clock as they give it straight ahead. And we look at the ticker. Buffalo continuing to lead the Dolphins as Marino went out of that game with an ankle injury. And the Jets closing in on their 6th win of the year, leading Baltimore by 7 with less than 2 to play. So the Carolina Panthers have their A game together, and they'll have to have it when they go on the road the next 2 weeks to play at Denver, then at San Francisco. Could be going to OT. In that San Diego 24-point performance, they're still down to Cincinnati. Eric Metcalf has returned 2 punts for touchdowns, 85 and 67 yards.
Well, at least one thing about the Panthers, they're going to go into that Denver game and that next week with a lot of confidence with their very impressive performance today, both offensively and defensively, and in the kicking game. And there's one of their defensive players right there, Tyrone Poole, who made that great interception just a minute ago.
They say, Jim, the one way to beat the Denver Broncos is to run.
In existence. I think they're playing very well right now.
They played well all day. Very solid blocking, picking up blitzes. Here's the handoff. Textbook open field tackle.
He doesn't know when he's down, does he?
He keeps. Now the Raiders are starting up, but Calvin Branch made that hard hit. And Chester McLaughlin teeing it up with Campbell and
look who's in the middle down there. Kerry Collins,
Garcia,
quarterback.
So the Raiders venting their frustration, and it's got to be a very frustrating day for them. Down 38-14 on a day they really thought they could win and knew they had to win as they came into the opening ninth game, the start of the second.
Get carried away like that. You can't do things that can hurt people.
There's another personal foul, number 91, unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct. Another 15-yard penalty. First down.
That might be the first time that a guy committed a foul after he's been kicked out of a game.
36 seconds left to play. Handoff. Fred Lane runs. He's thrown back. Whistles.
Sides of the ball.
Down Capers put it, we're more of a team now than at any point in the season, and this has been their best performance as they go back to the run, taking it right at the Raider defense on a second. Charlotte, North Carolina. Panthers in command of the game as they go to the run, and holding on to the ball, making sure he does not lose it, is Fred Lane, who's having a career day, the rookie run.
He probably takes special interest in those offensive linemen.
He was a great offensive line coach with the great Washington teams of Joe Gibbs, who's got a couple of Super Bowl rings from his days with the Skins. A lot of great ones come in as free agents.
A lot of them. Happens every year. It's happened to every team.
Now Klingler is sacked back inside the 30-yard line.
Patuka, who hasn't set the world on fire so far this season, coming off the knee injury. Or do you start with Fred Lane, who rushes for 140 yards today?
Hey, it's a nice choice, though, isn't it, for a coach?
Oh, yeah, that's the kind you like. But it'll be interesting to see what they do next week if Patuka.
You know, Fred Lane's healthy. Everybody in the field hits him,
No
and he
question.
keeps on running. Handoff as they go to Tim Hall, and he's ahead, has a first down for the Raiders out to the 45-yard line, but we're down now to 19 seconds left to play. We'll be staying with our NBC cameras on the field for the post-game handshakes, if there are any. We could have, now there are some. That's good to see. As it got very heated, two Raiders were thrown out here late in the game, Chester McLaughlin and Russell Maryland. And Joe Bugle, the consummate sportsman that he is, despite this bit disappointing day for Bugle and his Raiders, comes across and shakes hands of the victor, Dom Capers.
That's hard to do sometimes when you're a losing coach, you know. What you want to do is just run into the locker room, and for Joe to come across like that, and most of the head coaches in the league are classy like Joe is right there, but sometimes it's very difficult to do.
Man of the day who carried the day, Fred Lane, the runner, will be coming back to Charlotte where the Panthers win 38-14.
Hey. You the new intern?